Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive, where we, take a deep dive into some fascinating sources. And today, we'll be taking a look at a whole bunch of headlines from November 4th, 2024.
Sounds good.
So we've got a whole bunch of different things to go through today, from, international news to Nigerian politics, even some football gossip. So
Right.
Should be a good one.
Yeah.
First up, let's head over to the music world, where unfortunately we have to say farewell to a legend, Quincy Jones, who passed away at 91 years old.
Yeah, quite a legacy he leaves behind.
I mean, you probably know that he produced Thriller, Michael Jackson's Thriller album.
Of course, yeah. Everybody knows that one.
But that's really just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to his career.
Right. I think it's really important to remember that his influence goes, way beyond just that one album or even just one genre of music. He was really a master at blending so many different styles like jazz, soul, pop, funk, you name it.
Yeah.
And he created this really unique sound that, resonated with people from like all generations. And, he also broke so many racial barriers in the music industry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like he was actually the first African-American to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Score.
Wow.
And then later on, he was also the first to win the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award.
That's incredible.
It is, yeah.
It really puts into perspective all that he accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of impact, our next headline takes us to the Middle East,
Okay.
where Israel has announced that they're cutting ties with the UNRWA.
Interesting.
Now, the UNRWA, that's the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which has been around since 1949, specifically to support Palestinian refugees.
Right.
So what does this move actually mean? It sounds kind of serious.
It is pretty serious. I mean, the UNRWA provides, really essential services to millions of Palestinian refugees. We're talking education, healthcare, social services, all that time. So Israel's decision to just, withdraw from that could have some pretty significant humanitarian consequences.
Yeah.
Especially, in terms of impacting these people's access to, like, these really vital resources.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's going to add another layer of complexity onto, the whole Israeli-Palestinian relationship.
Right, exactly. And it'll be interesting to see how the international community
Oh,
reacts.
for sure. Definitely a situation to watch closely.
Yeah.
Now, from global politics to a stark reminder of how fragile life can be, there was a bus accident in the Himalayas that unfortunately killed 36 people.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah, it's just a heartbreaking incident.
Yeah.
Really highlights how dangerous, mountainous terrain can be.
Right.
And, the need for really good infrastructure and safety measures
For sure.
in those areas.
Okay, well, let's shift our focus now over to Nigeria,
Okay.
where the Kwara State governor has announced that there's going to be a bonus for civil servants
Oh, nice.
equal to 1 month of their pay tax obligations.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Now, I'm guessing there might be more to the story than just that.
Well, yeah, I mean, PAYE stands for pay as you earn.
Right.
And it's basically, it's how income tax is deducted directly from your salary.
Okay.
So every month. So, I mean, a bonus is always nice, of course, but
Sure.
some people are questioning, like, the timing of this announcement
Yeah.
and, what it could mean, especially with all the discussions going on about, tax transparency and how the state's making money.
I see. So it's kind of like a feel-good announcement. But
Yeah.
maybe there's some more complex economic stuff going on underneath.
Exactly.
All right. Well, moving on to another development in Nigeria.
Okay.
The Nigerian Medical Association, or the NMA,
Right.
is taking a really firm stance against what they're saying was an assault on one of their doctors.
Oh, wow.
They're demanding that a commissioner in Kano be dismissed because he allegedly assaulted a doctor.
That's a serious accusation.
Yeah, so why such a strong response from the NMA? Well, I mean, healthcare professionals, they often work in some pretty difficult environments.
Right.
And things like this, incidents like this, they really highlight how important it is to protect them and to make sure that they're safe.
Yeah.
So, the NMA is basically saying that this kind of behavior is not okay
Right.
and that they're going to take action to make sure doctors and other healthcare workers are safe.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this next story might hit close to home, especially if you drive in Nigeria.
Okay.
The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has issued a warning about a new depot that's apparently blending substandard fuel.
Oh, that's not good.
So why is this such a big deal?
Well, for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
First of all, using, fuel that's not up to standard, it can really damage your car's engine. I mean, we're talking expensive repairs,
Right.
potentially even accidents.
Nice.
And then beyond that, the impact it has on individuals.
Right.
There's also bigger economic consequences.
Oh.
Substandard fuel, it doesn't burn as efficiently, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you end up spending more money at the pump.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And it also, increases air pollution.
So it's a lose-lose situation.
It is, yeah. So this is definitely something where, consumer awareness is really important.
Right.
And, having strong regulations.
Okay, well, let's take a break from all these kind of serious topics.
Sure.
And move into the world of sports and entertainment.
Okay.
Any Arsenal fans out there?
Always.
Get ready for some potential shade-ups.
Oh.
Because Edu Gaspar, who's Arsenal's sporting director,
Right.
is apparently on his way out.
Wow. Big news.
This is pretty big news in the football world.
It is. I mean, Edu Gaspar has been so important in, building the team and their strategy and everything. So him leaving is going to cause a lot of speculation about what's going to happen next.
Yeah, definitely a lot of questions up in the air about that.
For sure.
Now, for a dose of Nigerian entertainment, let's turn to Bobrisky. Always controversial.
Always, yeah.
The cross-dresser was recently released on bail by the EFCC.
Right.
That's the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
Okay.
But then promptly jetted out of the country.
Interesting.
So Bobrisky never shies away from the headlines, that's for sure.
Definitely not. And this just, adds another layer to the whole legal situation.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Whether you love it or hate it, Bobrisky definitely keeps things interesting.
That's true. And, beyond the entertainment, it also kind of makes us think about things like,
Yeah.
how society's changing, gender identity, self-expression, all that.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to jump back into politics.
Always.
All right, well, President Tinubu is getting ready to swear in 7 new ministers.
Okay. Big changes coming.
These cabinet appointments, they're not just about, switching names on a list or whatever. They have a real impact.
They do. I mean, these appointments, they kind of show what the president's priorities are. And they can have a big influence on, policies and things like healthcare,
Right.
education, infrastructure, the economy, basically everything that affects our lives.
For sure. And on a more serious note, there's a lot of anger about the trial of some minors
Oh, right.
who were arrested during the NSARS protests.
Yeah.
And we're seeing calls for their release from some pretty prominent figures like northern governors and the Aereo Consultative Forum.
This situation brings up some, complicated questions about like the balance between keeping things under control and upholding individual rights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to young people.
Right.
I mean, peaceful protest is so important in a democracy,
Yeah.
but it's really tricky figuring out what to do when those protests, cause trouble, especially when minors are involved.
Definitely a lot to think about there.
Yeah.
And speaking of navigating tricky political situations, Peter Obi, who was the Labour Party's presidential candidate back in 2023,
Right.
has found himself in a bit of a communication mess.
Oh, what happened?
He's trying to clarify his stance on church vigils,
Okay.
saying that his suggestion to turn them into night shifts was misinterpreted.
Oh, I see.
So this really highlights just how powerful language is
It does, yeah.
and how important it is to be clear, especially when it comes to politics.
Right, especially these days, I mean, one little phrase
Yeah.
that's taken the wrong way can turn into a huge controversy.
Especially online,
Oh, especially online.
where things can spread so fast.
Yeah, like wildfire.
It's a good reminder that we all need to take a moment,
Yeah.
listen carefully, and try to understand the whole context
Absolutely.
before jumping to conclusions or hitting that share button.
Well said.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already today,
We have.
from international affairs to Nigerian politics, a music legend's passing, and even a touch of Bobrisky.
It's been a journey.
So before we dive into the next set of headlines, what's caught your attention so far?
What's really interesting to me is how all these seemingly unrelated stories are actually connected in a way.
Oh, how so?
Like, think about the news about the substandard fuel
Okay.
and the bonus for civil servants in Kwara State.
Right.
the quality of fuel directly affects how much it costs to transport things, which then affects the cost of living for everyone, including those who are getting that bonus.
That's true. It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
Even things happening far away can impact our lives here.
It all ties together.
And that brings to mind something else. We talked about Quincy Jones breaking barriers in music.
Yeah.
And we also have Bob Risky challenging those traditional ideas about gender and identity.
Right.
It's like both of them, in their own ways, pushed boundaries and started conversations.
Absolutely. It makes you think about how much courage it takes to challenge the norm.
It does. It really does. And speaking of carving your own path, the news about Edu Gaspar leaving Arsenal shows how even things that seem really stable are always changing.
That's true. Teams change, strategies change, people make decisions, and it can have a big impact.
And same with governments. President Tinubu's appointments, they're going to shape things for years to come.
It's like a big game of chess.
It is, where every move is calculated to affect the outcome.
Absolutely.
And sometimes those moves cause reactions.
Yeah.
Like the outrage over the trial of those miners.
Right. That situation really shows us how tricky it is to balance upholding the law and protecting individual rights.
It's complicated, no easy answers.
Nope.
And just like with Peter Obi's comment about church vigils, even small things can reveal bigger truths.
Yeah, like the importance of being clear and understanding each other.
Especially in a world full of information.
So much information.
It's on us to sift through it all, connect the dots, and make sense of it.
We're all detectives in a way.
That's a great way to put it. And to our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep connecting the dots. Don't just consume information, use it to make a difference.
And remember, even small actions can have a big impact. So what are you going to do today to make a change? What conversations are you going to start? What seeds are you going to plant?
We'd love to hear your thoughts, share your takeaways, your questions, your ideas with us. Let's keep this conversation going.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep exploring.
And remember, there's always more to discover out there.